Hello, my name's Colin Campbell. I'm with Polygon. You're looking at Hitman. The beta for this game is coming out at the end of this week. For those of you who are taking part, probably you've pre-ordered the game. And the game comes out in March. Now, the beta includes some of the scenes that you're looking at the moment, which is a kind of a training session, which takes you back into the deep past of Agent 47, in which he shows off his skills at sneaking up on people and putting an end to their lives. Voila. Later on in the game, you go to a big Parisian mansion where there's a huge fashion show going on, and that's the part of the game that will be coming out in March, which is going to be the first in a series of chapters or missions which will be released over the months ahead. Now, I went to San Francisco 3 or 4 weeks ago to look at this game, to a PR event, and what you're looking at is some of the B-roll that was released by publisher Square Enix and developer IO. What I found interesting about this game, and it is an interesting game, it's a fascinating game, is how it sets out to try to make you believe that the game is about murdering people. You're an assassin, but I think it's actually more interesting than that. Having played it, I think it's actually all about doors, opening and closing doors, and that doesn't sound very interesting, but when you think about how much of a symbolic impact doors have had in just the way we talk and in movies and books in the past, then you maybe understand what I'm trying to say. Doors hold a special place in fiction, and in Hitman they kind of hold the whole game together. And you can see here the start of the game, he's going through a great big door. During that sequence that you just saw, he goes from being this outsider to somebody who is literally inside, and he's been invited into this gathering of the beautiful, the wealthy, the powerful, and he is not those things. He is an outsider who is pretending to be an insider. And I think it's interesting that during that scene outside, there's a bunch of people who he encounters who are journalists. There's a camera crew, and like him, they are outsiders who represent the yearning of the viewer, of the player, to get access to this world. Now, inside the game, as you creep around this world, as you walk around, you find yourself coming across tons and tons of different areas which are not open to you. That you can't just simply walk around the whole mansion looking for the best way to kill your mark. And so the game invites you to take down people that you come across, a waiter in this occasion, and to dress up in that person's uniform. And this is something that the Hitman series has been doing for a long time. And I got an enormous sense of satisfaction at, the first time I go past these guards, they're really quite unpleasant in letting you know that you, buddy, are not coming in, that you don't merit a place through the particular entrance that they're guarding. But when I breeze past them dressed as a security guard or a hairdresser or a waiter, I got an enormous sense of satisfaction from that. And I think that satisfaction comes from the sort of childishness of hide and seek, of duping people. It's like when you sneak into the school late at night and you walk through the long quiet corridors long after the students, the teachers, the janitors have all gone home. It's that sort of special feeling of being in a place where you're not supposed to be. The game is all about, basically lots of do not enter signs. Much of the pre-release ballyhoo about this game has been about the number of AIs who are inhabiting these spaces and who you interact with. And this whole game is like this vast, intricate mechanical toy that you must understand. You must negotiate the clockwork marionettes who inhabit this world. Where do they go? What do they do? How can you take advantage of that? And so each time you play the game, it's a sort of Groundhog Day where you're understanding more and more of how the world works. And the only when I played this game and the missions before, when I messed up, which I did quite a lot, the game ended and I had to go back to a safe spot before I'd made a mistake. And it really takes you out of the fantasy. And the way to play this, I think, is to try to insert yourself into the mechanical toy as much as you can without breaking it. That the way to do that is to get around the house, to understand not merely the three-dimensional physical space of the mansion, but also the dimension of time as well. How do I fit into the timeline here, and what is the most efficient way to fit into the timeline so that I can kill my marks without being discovered. And obviously with Hitman games, the ultimate point is to affect the most beautiful, is that the right word? I don't know, but the most perfect kill that you possibly can, with the least number of people perhaps being hurt, and certainly the least number of people being aware of what you've just done. And these doors that connect all the different parts of the game together are really just mechanically they're important, but I think they're also symbolically important. And doors as symbols have been a big part of our culture for a long time. You think of that wonderful last scene in The Godfather when Michael shuts himself away from Kay. You think of Dorothy coming out of her house into the land of Oz. You think about Neo and Morpheus outside that door in The Matrix. Do you want to go through this door? And in games, obviously doors are really important because games are about physical progress, about getting from one place to another. You complete the mission in order to unlock the next room, literally. I don't think it's any accident that one of a lot of people's favourite games is called Portal. So in Hitman, the player makes use of a vast arsenal of weapons and guns, knives, rope, poison, bombs, environmental stuff like a loosened chandelier. But more important than that, I think, it's the doors and the windows that make up the game's central activity. This is a big game of hide and seek in which forbidden places must be discovered, they must be understood before the assassin's finger tightens on the trigger, and the satisfaction of garroting your enemies can really be enjoyed. Hitman, as I say, the beta is coming out at the end of this week. The game itself comes out in early March on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, for which there is going to be some exclusive levels, I believe, and on Windows PC.